Welcome to a special on-the-road edition of your boys from Table 5, courtesy of the Sports Bar, John Jay, Adam Fuller. Adam, how you doing, man? You out there? You're traveling, man. Are you taking your lunch right now?
Yeah. Just got done grubbing on some leftovers, but, it's a little special lunch time edition of Sports Bar,
Well, 'tis the season, I suppose. But remember, 2 words, ab work. Anyway, man, we're on a compressed schedule here. We're going to slip a short one in here just to kind of wet your whistle. We had a few topics on the table. We got some really good comments last week. Obviously, we're going to have to start with the Kobe Bryant situation. Kobe, as so many eloquently put it, made his triumphant return this week. I think it was far from that, far from spectacular. But I really think that, again, he disproved the critics. That's one of the things I love about Kobe Bryant, is he's a guy that's out there to kind of, disprove the myth. His chip on his shoulder is obviously not because, he grew up poor or, he didn't, enjoy anything in life or, he doesn't have that type of chip on his shoulder. His chip is he knows that the majority of people out there, or a lot of people out there, are going to be hating on him for no reason, whatsoever. And, I heard it the other day. I mean, I'm in the video store, I'm somewhere, and these dudes were going on and on about Kobe returning. I mean, it was like these guys knew him. And I said, the funny thing was, I said, man, the crazy thing about it is, I said, none of us in this room know this guy. So the reality is, we shouldn't really care if this guy goes home and we shouldn't care if this guy goes home and puts on ladies' clothes, as long as he shows up and does his job. And my argument was that, it's this TMZ, this cynical, Fox News society that we live in that has got to have you hating on everybody. That's the only way you can get some attention is if, or you can give a guy his props is it has to be backhanded. It has to be like the Skip Bayless props. Like, yeah, I'm gonna slip a compliment in there, while dogpiling on you. And, I think for this guy to return in 8 months was great. I think it was good for the fans. What'd you see, man? What'd you see?
Well, no doubt. I mean, he showed a little bit of rust as far as ball handling, and then, I think it's, he's still going to work on his confidence level, but that's going to come with game reps. I mean, you can't simulate game action in practice. I mean, practice can only help you conditioning, get up and down the court, things like that. But until you play about 10 to 15 games, that's when you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable, confident. Somebody, made an interesting, case of he probably won't, you'll know he's confident when you see the lane clear and he goes down the lane and just has a monster dunk. Maybe not on somebody, but just a nice, solid dunk. Off the left foot where the Achilles happens, and that's how you know he's back, and he feels more confident and comfortable out there playing, with the repaired Achilles.
Well, no doubt. I think that Kobe Bryant, that has become sort of his signature, I'm okay statement, and here's something for you haters. Which is that monster dunk of his. We saw the one he had in Emeka Okafor's face a couple years back. But I think another thing, too, of what I saw out there, just to add to it, I think that you can't simulate game speed, but I think that if people out there are criticizing Kobe Bryant for trying to do too much in that game, I think you totally missed it. If Kobe Bryant was trying to do too much in that game, he would have had more than 9 shots. We all know that. We all know, watching Kobe Bryant the last 15, 16 years, that when this guy tries to force the issue, it's through shooting. It's never through passing. So if this guy has 9 turnovers or 8 turnovers in a game, that's telling me he's passing the ball probably too much. But I think it was more so to keep the crowd, get the crowd excited, get the crowd into it, pump up and then not take away from the other guys, trying to get these other guys the ball, Xavier and Wes and those guys, trying to get those guys the rock and trying to show that, hey, these guys can play, and I'm just going to kind of fill it and be sort of a little bit of a facilitator. So I'm not mad at him for that. I don't knock him for that. I applaud him for making his return 8 months in for an injury that usually could take, anywhere from a year on to heal right, and to see him out there playing good defense, stripping the ball, doing everything like that. Again, it's certainly something that we should give a lot of props to him for. But my question, though, is, and it was funny because I looked at this guy. I'm at the store and we're just talking, and the language is flying around. It's B's and H's and everything else. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, damn, why do people still hate this dude so much? I don't. It was almost funny to me. It was like, you going back to like a rape trial that never happened. You going back to like. What are you doing? You're going back to, like, the Shaq and Kobe conversation reared its head. I'm like, wow. Why do you guys hate these guys? And you know what? Go ahead.
Thing, with this year's team, you got a lot of wing players, and they've been playing pretty good. Meeks, Xavier Henry, Wesley Johnson, they've all shown signs of Nick Young, of having big games and, stepping up in big-time situations. So, no doubt, once he gets back into a rhythm, that's going to limit some of the minutes of Xavier and then also Jody Meeks. But, at the end of the day, I think it'll be better. It'll be better for them in general.
Absolutely.
It'll just come down to him feeling comfortable in the offense, making plays, things like that. That's what it'll come down to.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that. I agree with that. What I'm saying, though, is when you hear a lot of people speak about Kobe Bryant, it's always in some sort of like third-person sense, like he did this off the court. He did that off the court. He did, you know what I mean? And it's like I have to remind people, like, wait a minute, the guy's job is to play basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know him personally. You don't know him personally. It's like, so, it just the cynicism of today's media just really, like, tickles me. It really does, because it's got you thinking that, in order to have a guy validated, I somehow have to like this guy. This guy,
right.
I got to
be a role model. Or they have to be a role model for the young.
I got to be out. I got to be able to hang out with this guy and party with this guy. Michael Jordan was a compulsive gambler. Michael Jordan cheated on his wife. Michael Jordan, just went through a messy divorce. But when you hear people talk about Michael Jordan, it's always just the greatest of all time and 6 championships. We don't ever hear about the gambling. We never hear about the womanizing. We never hear about another lady coming out recently, claiming Michael Jordan's baby, and we never hear about that stuff. And it's a different topic for a different show. I know that, but it's amazing to me how some guys get sort of this media type protection that other guys just don't get. I'm not, and again, I don't really care about Kobe Bryant's personal life. Fly your helicopter, drive your Ferraris, have a good time. You earned your money. When I turn on the TV and you're wearing a Laker jersey, that's what I care about. You play for the Lakers. And I think more guys out there, man, you need to fall back on that off-the-court crap, because nobody really cares about it. You think he raped somebody? Fine. You think he told on somebody? Fine. He's still going into the Hall of Fame, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
Right.
So, in other words, stop making yourself look petty based on stuff you can't prove, and just let it ride. Every idol that you've ever looked up into in sports probably has a history. Ty Cobb was a racist. Babe Ruth, you don't even want to go there. That guy was a nightmare. So, every guy that you claim to look up to and have so much respect for, just leave it on the court, man. Leave it on the court. Anyway, moving on to topic number 2, the NFL. Last night, your Cowboys get smoked. What happened?
Some people say they went away from the running game too quick, but I'm like, in the sense of, all right, you go away from the running game was working, things like that, but hey, if you can't stop nobody, you're not going to win the game. Plain and simple. I mean, you got to be able to stop, get some pressure on his quarterback. He got two good wide receivers, got a good running back. They're at home. They're playing for their playoff lives too. So, I mean, it's not like it wasn't a big game for them as well. But I think it was a bigger game for them than it was for us, because pretty much the Cowboys could still win out and make the playoffs and still be the fourth seed like they were going to be, probably, even if they had, won last night, So, in the sense of, everybody's going to say another loss in December, things like that, which is fine. Now, you still got 3 games left in December. You're going to have, Green Bay at home, Washington on the road, and then you have, Philly at the end of the year. So pretty much you went out, you still control your own destiny as far as making the playoffs.
How realistic, though, if they win out? Because I can see the win over Green Bay. Everybody's been stepping on them. Washington on the road, still a tough call, but Washington has just folded up like a tent. The Shanahan business is a mess. That's another topic on another show. But I guarantee you that's rearing its head, which I really, you can't really call who. You don't know who's petty in that situation. You don't know if RG3 is in too good with the owner. You don't know if Shanahan is disgruntled because that relationship. You don't know what's going on. But that situation's imploding, and they don't have a good team. So you can't really say, hey, we're rolling in Washington, but these guys don't get along. This isn't a situation where we're winning and it's all good. And we can, winning is helping to, is the Band-Aid for this poor chemistry we got here. They're not winning. So I could see that being a win as well. Philly, tricky win, tricky loss. I mean,
even though it's at home, it doesn't matter. I mean, that game could go either way. Epic pass battles between the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Who knew? I thought it would come down to that at the end of the season anyway, because they definitely. I don't know if the Eagles are for real or fake, but I do know that they have at times really played some good ball, and they're right there. And so, this Cowboy run it couldn't come to a short end. I think personally, honestly, any one of these 3 losses, and that's pretty much it. Any one of these 3 is a loss, and that's it. Last night was for the taking. It was a tough game. It was on the road. You haven't really seen the Bears play a lot, so nobody really knew what they had. Marshall's still there. Forte's still there. Their defense is really good. But McCown, on the other side.
They had him looking like Aaron Rodgers or somebody last night. I mean, he was killing them. So
yeah, he had all day to throw. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a mess last night. I turned it on at like halftime, and it was in the 30s. I'm like, wow. So
right.
Cold weather game. Here we go again. Hopefully the Cowboys can get something done. San Diego wins again yesterday. Obviously, their big test is going to be next week. The Denver game is probably
two days from now.
Sorry,
they play in Denver.
Thursday. You're right. Thursday is probably their season.
Right.
Did what they were supposed to do against this week against the Giants, who has been an absolute launching pad for any team. You play the Giants, you might as well mark the W. Baltimore, weird ending. Adrian Peterson obviously gave us a scare. It's probably going to be a foot, they say, as opposed to, as it looked a lot more serious, and he was a lot more.
Well, they're actually the reports say that he's going to be able to play this week. So that's a good sign.
And him, he's going to play. That's the
right.
Key word there is that he's going to play, because obviously wacky ending in that game. Baltimore has not looked like champion at all this year, but they're still hanging on in there, and they're still alive.
Lions next Monday night.
Yeah, Steelers still alive. Baltimore still alive. that's a wacky race in itself. Minnesota's more than out of it. There have been some reports talking about Adrian Peterson. Possibly, wanting to go somewhere else. You cleared that one up for me, and I kind of confirmed it as well, just looking it up and looking at some different reports and stuff like that, saying that, he was asked hypothetically, would you want to play in your hometown? Obviously, if I were him, I wouldn't go to Houston Texans. They are a mess. 11 in a row. I mean, that's like, that's not even an implosion. That's just like a nuclear implosion. It's so funny because remember, like week 6, I had them in the most overrated category. I had them. I'm saying Houston Texans. Wow, Andre Johnson, one of the best receivers in the game. This team stinks. And here they go again. And which obviously got us to an interesting topic that you were bringing up. You and I brought up that we probably won't get to today. Sacrificing Hall of Fame for rings. In other words, if you have an opportunity to go to a team that's built to win, but you're all world like Adrian Peterson, do you stand pat? Honor your big contract that you got, in order to put that tan jacket on, 5 years from when you retire, or, do you go and play the Shaquille O'Neal roulette of, chasing a ring everywhere and trying to do it that way? Obviously it's a topic that we'd have to elaborate on. The short answer for me is I'd stay put. I don't know how you. The main thing is I think Minnesota got some talent. I just think the quarterback position needs to improve, and they need to get a little bit younger on the defensive side. But other than that, I think offensively they got some weapons that are pretty young, and maybe improve the O-line a little bit. Get a quarterback in there that can actually play, and they got some receivers. That guy Patterson is pretty electric rookie. Greg Jennings is still a solid player when he's healthy and everything, motivated. So, I just think the quarterback position, if they get a guy in there that could, make some plays down the field, no doubt you still would be a running team. But, you got to, every once in a while, hey, why not play action over the top, 1st and 10, When you got Peterson, you're going to have 8 men in the box anyway. Right. Right. Well, no question about it. And I think that them, stretching the field obviously is a reflection of not having a quarterback in that situation. It's sad that the last good quarterback they had was Brett Favre. Again, I'm not hating on anybody, but, Brett Favre's certainly not a fan favorite to a lot of people, including myself. I think the way he went out was kind of chumpish, to say the least, but that's a different. Yeah, another. Say again.
Little wishy-washy.
Yeah, he went out wishy-washy, but again, he was a good quarterback when he was in Minnesota. I believe he was 33-7. 33 touchdowns, 7, and they went deep into the playoffs. So again, one of his interceptions cost them, but nevertheless, he had them right there. So that's that. But other than that, no real surprises around the NFL. One of the big surprises, obviously, this year that the Steelers are still alive. And that's just me being a Ravens fan.
I think a big loss for the Patriots, no doubt, with Gronkowski being out for the season. I think they'll still be top 3 seed in the AFC, but can they actually get out of can they actually win a playoff game will be a key factor without Gronkowski now. They'll more than likely they'll have home field first game, and if they win that game, they'll more than likely play Denver in Denver. So I can't really see them beating them with Gronkowski, but you never know. As long as Brady and Belichick are together, they got a chance. As long as you're in the moment and you got those two on your side, you got a chance. So
them dudes, man, they're magical. They're magical. Right. Siegfried and Roy, minus the fancy hairdos, I tell you, because as long as Brady and Belichick are together, man, you cannot count those dudes out, man. Especially late, it's cold, it's December. You can never count out Brady. and Belichick. That system, I mean, those dudes are just built to win, and there it is. And they pretty much own Peyton Manning. I mean, I love Peyton Manning to death. Got to see the guy, got an opportunity to see him run around live. You know, they played a game at UCLA when he was at Tennessee once upon a time, and, you know, he's always been a favorite of mine. But, you know, them dudes, man, Belichick and Brady, they just got his number. And so, you know, there it is. So that's a dream matchup, obviously, for the media. Quickly, man, some of the topics, some of the things, or rather games that you were looking at this week, I really didn't have anything in mind. Everything kind of seems mundane. I'm just looking at really the Thursday game, and then past that, I'm kind of drawing a blank as to anything really blowing my hair back this week.
Lions and Ravens have playoff implications, no doubt. I mean, Packers and Cowboys. Let's see, probably, I would say, what else has playoff implications? Well, the Eagles go to Minnesota, so they're, you know, like I said, even if they lose that game, I still think the Cowboys will have to win out in order to have a chance, you know. And then, what else? That's about it. I'm trying to think what else. It's probably a couple other games that are decent. I wonder who the Bengals play. But those are the main ones. But going to like college, like the BCS and everything, I mean, it all shaking out where, you know, Ohio State lost. They were number 2, they lost, but now it's gonna be Auburn and Florida State in the championship. So no one seen that probably at the beginning of the year. Nobody's seen that matchup. So it's kind of interesting matchup. Another thing is this Saturday Heisman Trophy Award presentation. You know, Winston should win it in a runaway. And then let's see. As far as the local teams, you know.
Well, real quick, if we can, I know that a lot of people are on this Jameis Winston situation. I heard some jackasses on the radio talking earlier about the whole Jameis Winston situation. And the thing that's killing me about the Jameis Winston situation, again, I am so happy that we are seeing more diversity at the quarterback position in the college ranks. The NCAA has done a fine job. We're seeing the RG3s. We're seeing the Cam Newtons. We're seeing these guys come up through the ranks. Taj Boyd, you know, Jameis Winston. We're seeing a lot of African-American quarterbacks, a lot of diversity. I love that. However, my complaint is still, why is there's always some sort of like negative trail when it's an African-American quarterback? Tim Tebow comes out of college, he's the best thing since sliced bread. Cam Newton has the same exact career as basically as Tim Tebow. Played in the SEC, won a championship, won the Heisman. Some sort of negative trail follows him where you got somebody like Skip Bayless saying he stole a laptop or something. If this guy, Jameis Winston, was not charged, no matter how inept you think whoever was in trying to charge him, if this guy was not charged, again, why are we talking about some guys off the field issues or some guys off the field situation? Again, I keep hearing the word integrity all of a sudden. When I heard when Johnny Manziel won the Heisman Trophy last year, and we've seen what a clown, what an absolute farce Johnny Manziel has been. And I'm not talking about on the field because the kid can play. Although at the next level, I don't think he's going to be much better than a Doug Flutie. Undersized, I don't really see a lot of good vision. I see run around, make plays. But off the court, this dude has been a nightmare, hanging with Diddy and LeBron and signing autographs and all this other crap. You hear nothing about integrity. But the minute we put an African-American quarterback in there who clearly, I mean, Jameis Winston, this guy's numbers are unreal. The ACC championship game was a joke. This guy they must have 30 points stepping off the bus. It's a joke. Now all of a sudden we got to hear about integrity. Now all of a sudden we got to hear about, character and all this other crap. I am so tired of that. That is on a personal note from me. Okay, let me read my disclaimer. My views do not necessarily reflect those of your boys at Table 5 or even the sports bar. That's just my personal opinion. I'm just tired of hearing that's the only way some people can accept diversity at the quarterback position or even in the leadership position in sports is to somehow get that backhanded, Skip Bayless crap comment where, we got to backhand you with something. This guy, if anything, Johnny Manziel already won the Heisman Trophy. So what he did this year and got basically caught for, you're not talking about integrity. Again, it's not what you know or what you think you know, it's what you can prove. If the guy's not charged, if he's not arrested, he didn't spend any time in jail, what the hell are we talking about? We need to talk about this guy winning the Heisman Trophy, going away, and being one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks to be picked in the NFL. I'm just so tired. I've been hearing about it for years. Randy Moss was Mr. Basketball in West Virginia. And we're talking about this guy smoking weed the night before the draft or something. Warren Sapp, the guy who is now in the Hall of Fame, probably had one of the greatest championships I had ever seen with University of Miami, and they got beat by a better team. The whole pre-draft crap reared its head with him. And I just see Jameis Winston becoming a victim of this same crap. Let it go. If you cannot prove anything, stop talking about it. I was so disappointed the other day to hear Stephen A. Smith, of all people. You got your own show, your notoriety, you got your radio show and everything. And you're talking about how inept the state attorney was in not charging this guy? Right. If he didn't charge him, we don't know the ins and outs of the case. And this is another reason to attack the media, because a lot of times these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. They just have to create a story. They have to make something in order to sell something. And this is crap to me, because if the guy wasn't arrested, I don't see any mugshots. The guy wasn't in jail. And you got people, well, you can read the report of what happened in this room, and it was horrific in this room and this and that. Hey, if the court did not prove it, he was not charged, let it go. Give this guy his Heisman and let him be on to the next level. Right. So, sorry about that. But that's my, it pisses me off, man. I'm so tired of it. I know they got to put a towel on my head. All right, John, it's cool. Calm down, relax. But I'm really tired of it, man, because we are living in a society that has examples of diversity everywhere. And I'm just tired of every time we see, as particularly at the quarterback position, we see a person of color, there always has to be some sort of stigma attached to it. There always has to be some sort of, well, don't you remember this and don't you remember that? We always have to attach something to it. When we talk about Brett Favre, we talk about how great Brett Favre is. We don't talk about how Brett Favre showed his butt the last 3 or 4 years he was in the NFL and just basically, took a dump on a few great organizations, the Green Bay Packers being one of them. We don't talk about that stuff. It's always kind of this, it's always kind of this, well, we'll let this guy slide, but this guy over here, we want to talk about, somebody in his family allegedly stole some laptops or something. It was Cam Newton's dad that allegedly asked the university for money. And then when Cam was exonerated, it was like ESPN, nobody picked it up. They just said, oh, yeah, he's been exonerated, let it go. Like, wait a minute, wait. Where's the big deal about me getting off?
Right.
So that's that's why I said it gets under my skin. I really don't like it because we see it all the time. We've seen it, and we're just we're tired of it. It's time to put it to bed. When you see great men like Nelson Mandela passing and you look at these guys' life and the things that they've gone through to fight against, things like this and non-diversity and things like that, it just really kind of really, it's 2013. You know what I mean? Let's move on. Let Jameis get his and keep it moving. The guy's clearly earned it on the court, on the field of play, and that's all that should matter. But again, that's what we open the show with. We open the show with, how are guys so continuously, infatuated with digging into a guy's personal life. But again, we're up against it, so we don't have really time to go into it. But it's a fascinating topic nonetheless. Obviously, next week, man, we'll talk a little bit of boxing. I know we never got to the Manny Pacquiao fight. Obviously, that was a big deal. Yeah, it was a big deal, and I think a lot of people missed that. I know we don't have time to cover it today, but we will put it in there. I know we're a little bit late on the topic, but we are still getting some people requesting, hey, what happened with the Pacquiao fight? Why didn't you guys talk about it? And, you had some interesting thoughts on it. So definitely next week we'll pick it up. We'll kind of do a state of the boxing, a state of where boxing is. We'll pick that up. What's an interesting matchup now? Where do we go from here? What did Pacquiao prove? Some of those questions. Also, reviewing some of, this week's action, obviously week 14, and go from there. And obviously we'll see a little bit more Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, see how they're matching up, see how the NBA season is progressing. Do you have anything, man, last but not least, before we get out of here?
Last but not least, there's a trade involving my Angels today. The winter meetings are going on, and a lot of big deals are being made in baseball, things like that. And what happened was they traded their first baseman, DH, outfielder, Mark Trumbo. They traded him to the Diamondbacks and it was a three-way trade where, Adam Eaton, he's a young outfielder for the Diamondbacks. He got traded to the White Sox. And then the Angels ended up getting a guy, Tyler Skaggs, who was originally part of their farm system, and he was a part of the trade that they were able to get Dan Herron a couple of years ago. So now he's back with them, and then also to get another pitcher, Hector Santiago. Big picture is they save some money, get two young, talented arms, in their system, and then hopefully they can help them win, because the biggest question mark from them last year was just their starting pitching, and maybe they can actually go out there and get one of these free agent starting pitchers as well.
Wow, you are really in a blizzard, my man. Is the weather that bad out there?
It's whipping a little bit, but not too much.
Wow, so Trumbo being traded, huh? Obviously, we'll have to deal with that one. We'll dissect that trade, obviously, next week. Get you out of this horrendous weather, man. I know you've been trying to stay warm. I have as well. But I appreciate you joining me today from the road anyway, because I know it's tough. It's a struggle. But obviously some more interesting topics next week. Your boys from Table 5. Comments at stacysports.com. We're going to go ahead and cut it here, pick the next segment up later. We're up against it. We need to take a break. iHeartRadio. I actually got an opportunity to listen to it throughout iHeartRadio, and it's decent. It's an easier way to get to the show. Obviously, you can go to the website, stacysports.com. You can leave your comments, tell us how ridiculous we are, tell us how crazy we are, tell us who the hell we think we are. Or if you got some great recipes for like some holiday leftovers, like some turkey salads or tetrazzini or something like that, that's welcome too. We appreciate all comers. Or if you got something special on your mind that you want to talk about, stacysports.com, leave your comments, or, just tune in on iHeartRadio. Just type in the boys at Table 5, and, there we are, each and every week or so trying to come at you, compiling some facts and compiling some topics and giving them to you. That's what we're trying to do. So, Adam, I appreciate you, man, braving the elements, man, to come on out in the afternoon, came outside and got after it. I do appreciate it, man. Your wisdom is always welcome, definitely. Definitely. So anyway, we'll talk early next week. We'll have some more interesting topics again. Input is always welcome from anybody who happens to be listening casually or otherwise. Stace Dizzle, Stacy Porter, appreciate you. Everybody who looks like you, call in when you can. And we'll see you soon. Obviously, next week, we'll try to go a little earlier so we can get these in before the week's end. But for now, we'll just keep rolling along. So I appreciate you, Adam, man, and we'll definitely talk next week or earlier.
The season.
You know what? I'll see you later unless I'll see you first. I'll just say that.
'Tis the season.